Good morning, everyone, and welcome to GPA Trading Services live trading class on this Tuesday, July the 15th, 2025. As you know, today is Tuesday, Gary's Market Forecast, or GMF. It's the heads up on what's going down in the markets. But first, we have very specific rules of engagement. Those include the following. Do not trade with money you cannot afford to lose. Always use protective stops. Make certain the 4-hour, the 1-hour, the 30, and the 15-minute time frames align prior to using the MPA PE5 version 5.0 software. Also adhere to very strict money management rules, which includes never risking more than 2% of your entire account balance on any one given trade. For options friends, never risk more than 5% of your entire account balance on any one given options trade. And finally, all information provided by GPA Trading Services is for your educational purposes. So please give us a moment as we open up the charts. All right, ladies and gentlemen, picking up with the dollar index on the monthly chart. Emil, wave one's over. We're working on wave two down. We found support. We've been discussing the last couple of weeks now that the weekly was oversold, the daily was oversold. We're due for a bounce off of this battle zone that we tested multiple times as support and resistance. So is this going to go up and break out? Small probability or possibility, higher probability, lower high, lower low. But for now, we did expect this bounce. Why? Come over to the weekly chart. We could see the software, the MPA PE5 version 5.0. We got a weekly PAI hook, trend momentum cross. There's not a lot of angle and separation in there yet, but it is a weekly hook, a weekly cross. So what does that mean? You get a little steep slope. Again, we don't have the angle and separation yet, but that means we're likely going to continuation of this move higher. As we talked about last couple of weeks, don't be selling the dollar index here because we're expecting this bounce. We expected this to get grinding up toward the Magic Fibo and in toward the cloud area if you're using Ichimoku cloud, as now this daily still has a ways to go. Red's up here and overbought, blues 3/4 of the way, and look at money flow, not even halfway. Trend momentum, barely halfway. So this is why I stated the other day when we were looking at our here that we said expect this to grind toward that 99-100 level, basically going into the cloud, heading toward us the US dollar index right there, and continuation higher. So when we look at this, this is typical. So where is the cloud area? 99. Where is the Magic Fibo? Roughly 100-ish. And again, this is sloping downwards. So if we take a few more days chopping and grinding in here, we might hit that 99-100 level and then potentially get another push lower. But we're expecting at least the daily cycle up, right? Everybody good so far? So it's doing exactly what we had anticipated. Everybody else does a prediction. I predict this, predict that, my predictions. Well, I'll leave that to the prophets, as you well know, and I can anticipate with the best of them. But we talked about this reversal, and it's exactly what it's doing. It tied in beautifully with the euro. I said I would not be buying the euro dollar right now. I expect this pullback to go further. And the same rule here, inverse relationship. We got the Magic Fibo sloping upwards, and we expect this will get pulled and sucked into the cloud area. And maybe we kind of grind and grunt, and this continues to go, and maybe we come in and hit those together somewhere around that 114-ish level, maybe 113. But we're expecting probably a little bit more downside. And we're looking, expecting this daily to cycle down as we have a weekly that is doing an inverse relationship. Now, unlike the dollar index, this one definitely has a PAI hook. This trend momentum is not quite as crossed as much as the dollar index, but I expect the same. The dollar index daily is going to cycle up. Then the euro dollar daily, highest of highest probability, is going to cycle down. So again, I would not be buying the euro expecting this to go breaking out right now. I expect this chop up, down, sideways, sideways to lower, continue for probably the rest of this week, maybe even into next week. But we're expecting this grunt and grinding, laboring decline to continue. And then we'll look for when the daily gets oversold, we'll look to buy that. So remember, with the software, you can set up, go into properties, and go in and tell it to, we want to buy the trigger long. That's all we want to do. What's a trigger? That's a trigger short. And if we're going to buy the dip, we want to wait till it gets oversold. When do you get triggers? When the trend momentum and PAI are overbought, you get triggers lower. When it's oversold, see, we're not oversold there, there's no trigger. When you get oversold, you get your triggers to go higher. So this is what we're expecting. Likely to come down maybe another 100 or so, 200 points into the cloud area, maybe into the Magic Fibo, and then we get the perfect confluence of events. The daily's oversold, price is grinding lower, and once we're oversold, we get a PAI hook, and both of these are in oversold conditions. You'll get your little trigger higher, and we'll look to buy that. Of course, when we do this days from now, we're going to look to go to a position of authority so that if it just simply goes up the slingshot lower and this retracement ends up being deeper, that's fine too. But we'll be in a position of authority to make some profits. If it continues to break out further, then we're off and running, as we have been 3+ years ago when we talked about buying it down here at that 0.95 and we went up to 118. That's 0.95 to 105, 115, well over 2,000 plus pips and counting, 2,300-ish. And now we're pulling back again. And then most recently, when this big reversal occurred here, we talked about setting that weeks in advance on a weekly cycle. And we talked about the targets where we would go to, and we went to those targets beautifully, right? So what was that? Go back over here. We'll go to the, from the dollar index, inverse relationship. So what am I expecting? I'm expecting this to continue just to grunt and grind, grinding higher as the Magic Fibo continues to slope downward. And each day we get another little push. So this will keep grinding. This might start to flatten out just a little bit. And we rally into that 99, 100 level is part of the 618, 786 retracement. So where did those numbers come from? This recent high to low, that recent high to low, rally into a 618, 786 pink box is where that 99 to 100 level came from when we talked about that last week, expecting this to grind higher. All right. So it's always on the charts when I put that information in there. So in closing, I do expect more upside. Hint, hint, hint. Does that mean this thing just keeps going green candle, green candle, green candle every day? No. We'll likely get a little pullback and some red candle, but the stair-stepping action will continue until the daily finishes its upcycle. And as we can see on the dollar index, we're not finished yet, right? We got a weekly hook and a cross. The daily is going to cycle. So the euro, we're expecting with the weekly beginning to hook and cross, we're expecting the daily to cycle down, inverse relationship. Software continues to push. So, Mr. Tucson, could this go as it is now, start to engage, disengage, engage, disengage, and continue to push lower? Yeah, that's that part of that grinding, chopping, overlapping sideways to lower as the dollar grunts and grinds sideways to higher up. But that's the plan. Look for this to go down into the cloud, somewhere around that 114, maybe 113 area, which is still a couple of hundred pips probably away. And the dollar expected where we are in 98, we're expected to grind into 99, maybe the 100 area, which is another point or two. So again, this is sloping down. So whether you're using MetaTrader or you're going from your trading platform or NinjaTrader, doesn't matter, it's in the software, doesn't matter that's my scanner, but I thought I had one open otherwise. There we go. We'll go over crypto in a minute, but it's in NinjaTrader as well. That's not the euro dollar. This is obviously Ethereum, but it's in NinjaTrader. So when you come over here, here's the technical picture. Dollar will go higher. Hint, hint, hint. I said it about 2 weeks ago that we're looking for about 2 to 5 week cycle up. The weekly was going to hook and cross, and we take about 2 to 5 weeks for a daily to cycle. And so far, we've been in this a couple of weeks. We might have a couple of more. So again, that's why I think we're going to grind higher toward this resistance zone, which again is my 618,786 from the recent high around that 101.95 down to the low of this 96 area. And you do the high to the low. Your 618 is roughly around 99. Your 786 is roughly around 100. And that's why we expect this thing at least to grind up to there before being rejected. Maybe we even go up and this intersects, and then we go from there. All right. Any questions on that? So I'm definitely looking for more upside. So that's why we made the statement a couple of weeks ago. I would not be buying the euro right now after we told you, yeah, this is a perfect opportunity to buy. We're looking to go to Magic Fibo. We break that. We take out that 108.50 area. Then we would definitely have our targets to the upside. I had kind of removed some of these just to show a cleaner chart. But from that high to the low, when we took out one of that 108.40, 108.50 area, we said we'd go to 137, 115. We did that. We then said we'd later grind higher toward the 118 level. We did that as well. And then you look at the recent pullback after we reached those first targets, high to low pullback. We said the same thing. We're going to 116, 117, onward and upwards toward 118. And now we're telling you we got the next correction. That's why the software is so imperative to have. When you know we're starting to top out, you got triggers to remind you, look out, we're going to get a pullback. And we even had a weekly after that big run from this low, those from this 101 area all the way to 118, 1700 pip run. It's time for that correction. Weekly's going to turn over. So I'm really not expecting this weekly to cycle down, as we call painting the Picasso on the software. I'm looking for this to turn over, but yet slingshot higher again. So I'm looking for this to dip down and then slingshot back up. But for now, I'm going to salivate to buy the euro, get to a position of authority when the daily gets oversold. And what does that mean? PAI, red, blue, and green money flow, how much money's flowing into this. And when that gets oversold, and at least your trend momentum one gets oversold, and then what happens? PAI comes down here, it hooks up, you buy that. And if we got the trend momentum PAI, you get a trigger also. So I can go in, as we just discussed, go into the expert advisor properties and trade this automatically. I simply tell it how many pips, stop loss, take profits. And then I go in here and I say, okay, I want to buy this trigger long, and say we're good to go. And then you click up here, ready to trade. And this baby will sit here in ready to trade mode until when? It will not enter until this baby drifts all the way to oversold. This drifts to oversold, and you trigger higher for the reversal. So we want to look to buy the dip. Where's the dip? Probably down here around 114, maybe 113, somewhere in that area. As this drifts lower and this gets oversold. So I'm painting again what the software is going to look like. It's going to come down here. When it turns and hooks, we want to buy that. Buy the PAI hook from oversold territory. So that's the red, the blue, and green money flow getting oversold. Then when it hooks, like over here, over there, over here, etc., you want to buy those hooks and then look for this higher low, higher high to come is the plan. Amen? Any questions? Now, I must warn you, looking at the dollar index, that I do think it's going to go higher, but what if we don't just go up here and get rejected to make new lows? What if we start breaking the Magic Fibo? And then you go from the high to the low, you start breaking this 618 around that 104, 107. If this reversal includes taking out not only the cloud, the Magic Fibo, but we start taking out that 618, 786 resistance zone up here. That's this big area up here. I'll put a box there. And I'll change that to pink for resistance. So no matter what platform you're using, this is an area to keep an eye on. If, and this is a big if this rally can run up into here and get rejected, great. That's what we're thinking. But if we start breaking above and then we grind into this resistance zone, if we close above that, then it's over. We're going to go to some new highs, and this 110 up here, we'll see new highs. So as long as we stay below that 618, 786 zone and get rejected. So my first priority and higher probability is we're going to get rejected somewhere up here to make a new low. If not, we got the next one to go up here to get rejected. And if neither one of those comes out to play and we break and close above 107, then it's game on. We're going to go to new highs. So how does that read? That reads on this chart we've been talking about for 3 years. That this wave one was over. We're looking for a wave two correction. And super cycles like this generally are deeper corrections. But this is a potential three-wave move, right? Bullish up, three-wave correction, and it's possible this could be over and we go breaking out. It is a low probability right now, but it's still possible. So that's why that make or break level is that 104, 107 level, looking at the recent low to high. From that high to this low, we break that. Then we should go to extensions up here, which puts us right at our upper quadrant. So I have all that already labeled on my, let me move this and put this back to the dollar index. But we have that all labeled for you. So in order for us to take this bounce seriously, which obviously we took it serious, I told you it was going to bounce and go into this area at least. But if we start to break above that zone, which is my 99, 100, and we break above the Magic Fibo, then we have this 105, 107 area, 104, 90 up to 107. So if we start doing that, Mr. Toussaint, and what if, William Bruce, this does get legs, we break this, we start closing above the Magic Fibo, and then we actually close above 107. Well, we do that, then it says 75% chance we're going to 112, 113. Well, the problem with that is we break that to say we go in here, 75% we go to 112, 70 plus we go on to 113. That breaks above our last line of defense from the high 115 up here, 114 and change, all the way to the low. That would take that out. In Houston, what happens if we start closing above 111 to reach the 112 and 113 target? Then we're going to go make new highs, 117, 120. Now we're talking 75% chance we're going to 117, 70 plus we're going to 120. That is not out of the question, as we expect the euro and the dollar, in this case, to retrace first into a wave two, then go breaking new highs. So we're expecting at some point, is this the reversal? We go breaking new high? I don't think so. I think it will go lower. But if this ends up being the end, the prognosis was at some point a wave two, and I don't know where the little question mark is, but I guess I can draw it with this thing. Is this wave two? That's a question mark. I still think we're going to get a lower high, lower low and come further down. But at some point, wave two was supposed to end, and then we go breaking new highs. So don't think, well, they can't possibly stop here, Ian, because we are going to go up in wave three. True. It can. Maybe this is wave two over, and we got a very shallow retracement to go busting out. But I'm going to force price to prove its intentions before we otherwise change our opinion. So this rally should continue definitely, but I'm still looking for a lower high, lower low, more than I'm expecting this thing to go breaking out. So when we go back to the charting platform and we look at those levels, that's why until price proves otherwise, we need to go ahead and break this resistance zone at 99,100. Then break the Magic Fibo. And that's a huge feat to get to there. Then we got to go break a lot of resistance and support, well, a lot of former support zone turn resistance to get up here that 104, 107 level. We break that, then it sets the tone. We're going up here. And if we go up there, we break this, and then it says we're going up here. So for now, this down move and retracement is much higher probability to make a lower high, lower low. But if we start breaking above this 104, 107 area, that would give us a 75% chance we go to 112, 70 plus plus we go to 113. And if we go to 112, 113, from the original high reversal point to the current swing point low, that's breaking the 618786 zone off of that move. And if we get up there, now we're 75% chance we go on to 117, 70 plus plus we go on to 120. And if we obviously do that, that wave two is over and we're breaking out clearly. So before we call it, uh-oh, the bounce is really doing something. No, we got to break the resistance zone first, then the Magic Fibo, then this pink box here. And if we do all of that, the probability we're going to break this one to go higher is extremely high probability, in excess of 75 plus percent. That's a huge difference. Right now, we still have a 75 plus percent. We're going to get rejected and make a new low. Then we are to go breaking out. But I would be remiss not to tell you and have that on your chart. So in closing on the dollar yen, you can come over here to the dollar index. Come over here to the software. Expect, anticipate, do everything but predict that this is going to go higher. This is going to cycle, and price is going to continue to grunt and grind, laboring rise in toward that 99 to 100 level. So basically, all I'm looking for from this recent high to low is a 618 retracement. That gets us to 99-ish, and my 786 is right up there at 100 and change. So that's why I expect this retracement to go at least there, and then likely going to get rejected and move down. Now, one thing is very important to watch, Mr. Tucson, and now we're talking days in advance because it's going to take us days longer, and I'll stretch this out for you. It's going to take days longer for us even to get up here. That's that daily cycle up. So what I'd love to see is the software get overbought, like we were painting the Picasso, and price to be in this zone somewhere around at least 99 and change, maybe in 100 and change, to then see the daily turn over and start heading down, we get rejected. So I would say even as we rally into this, we're going to pull back from it, even if it means we're just doing from the low to that high, we get a 618 retracement to then continue up. So you need to then use your 2-point tool, your retracement tool, from the low to this high. You can see I already have the line there. And that gives us where my 618786 zone is, right? See it? So from that low, saying we're going to go up to this zone, it's going to split the difference right now between 99 and 100. So we'll go right at 100, 99, 100 plus, that is, 99.8, 107, 100.7. So we'll go right around 100. So, Mr. Tucson, I do think we're going to get up there. I do think we're going to get rejected from there. The question is, do we get rejected to go on and make new lows, start targeting 95, 8, 95, 3, etc., making a new swing point low? Or do we get rejected to come back toward a 618, 786 zone, which would put us back around this 97 area? So to make things a little bit easier to see, let's put our support zone in here. And it's already green. So what if it does this? We go up here, we get rejected, we hold that, then we go breaking out. Well, that's going to be an easy one to look at too, because once we do that, we can use the 3-point tool to say, okay, what's my next target? Well, this would be the low. This is going to be a high. Then we get a retracement back to a 618, right? And we go bouncing. Then we can start targeting the Magic Fibo / maybe 102 area. So what are we saying? We're going to go higher. Once we get in the zone, I'm looking for a retracement. Is the retracement going to get a rejection to where we just keep coming down? We don't hold the support zone and look out below. We start targeting 95, 8, 95, 3, continuation potentially down to 93. Or does this thing come down, find support somewhere around that 618, 786 zone, which would be my 97 area, to then go breaking out? If we see this scenario and we go breaking out, then we have a high probability we're going not only to Magic Fibo, but toward that 102 area. What's the best way to play that if this turns out where we do rally to here, we get a pullback here, and instead of breaking down, we bounce? Then you just use your 2.2 yet again. That would be from this high to that low. Then we start breaking this bounce, right? We come down, find support. We start breaking back above 99 on the bounce. Then it's game over. We're going to this 100 and change, which means that same move says high probability we're going to the Magic Fibo / 102. So I'll rinse and repeat this. And I know when you're looking at this from afar, it's like, I don't see anything but a bunch of lines, red arrow, and numbers. But that's how you have to plan it out in advance. When I get in a trade, I know why I got in the trade. I already have an exit strategy, take profit strategy. I know what I'm doing with the trade. I don't just get in and, well, I'll figure it out later. So this bounce, we talked about, well, what am I buying this bounce for? Because I expect it's going to go up here toward that 99 to 100. And if it gets rejected there, there's a higher probability it's going to get rejected and make new lows. But it could be if this is the bottoming process and we get this in a 618 retracement that holds, then from that whatever that high is to this current low, we start breaking the 618 again on a bounce to the upside, then you keep doing your extensions. And if we do this scenario, we run into this resistance zone, we find support and we bounce, we're going to go up to the Magic Fibo. Got it? No questions asked. Is it possible when we get up here, we don't get rejected here, we just go straight through? Well, yeah, it's possible because this is sloping downwards. And maybe by the time we grunt and grind our way through and ping pong in these levels, stair stepping, this could be intersecting at that same zone. And it's the perfect confluence of events. We reach the zone we're looking for, and it happens to be the Magic Fibo, and we get rejected from there. Amen? All right. So we'll day by day, trade by trade, pullback by pullback, trend continuation, etc. But I don't, right at this point, think this bounce is signifying we're going breaking out to new highs. I think it's clearly signifying we're going up here to the 99-100 zone slash Magic Fibo. And I'm going to do what? When the software gets to overbought on the dollar index, when this green, red, and all get up here and overbought, and then it turns down. So we want red, blue, and green to get up here, trend momentum to get up there. And when we get that PAI hook, price action indicator, PAI, AI, this is the best AI of them all, PAI right there. When that baby hooks, that's when we're going to sell the dollar and look to get into a position of authority. What does that mean? If you're going to sell the dollar and you're in a position of authority, you move your stop loss in the break even +1 into a position of authority. Or if it pops down a decent amount, you take profit 1, it moves your stop loss automatically, and then you got it ready to go. Amen? But this is clearly expected to go higher while this finishes the cycle because the software has told us weekly hook, weekly cross, slope, beginning of angle of separation, a weekly PAI hook, trend momentum cross equals a daily cycle. And we're not there yet. We're about almost halfway with the portion. Red's up here, blue's 3/4, money flow most important. We need all three lines to cycle. So we'd say about halfway, and trend momentum's about halfway. So that tells me we're half the way there, and we're going to look for the rejection once it turns and hooks down. Amen? So what does that mean for the euro? We have already set it up. We're in ready to trade mode, and we're going to let this daily cycle down into oversold, cycle down into oversold. Price is going to grunt, grind, chop around, pogo stick, up, down, sideways to lower, come down into where the Magic Fibo slash cloud area is, somewhere around that 114, maybe 113-ish. Come into here, PAI is oversold. I'm going to buy it when it hooks. That's what it's already set up to do. So I can let it sit for days. It take 1 day, 2 days, 5 days, 10 days, whatever days, till this baby gets oversold. This gets oversold and the PAI hooks. You will not get a trigger, and this baby will not enter based on our entry criteria. But that's the plan. Buy the dip, continuation. Like we talked about buying the dip, continuation. Like we talked about buying the dip, that big move we set up multiple times, that's it. Rinse and repeat. So back to the euro dollar, and we'll finish up with the pound very quickly. But we talked about it down here, buying the dip, shooting for the target. When we broke 108.50, we'd go up to our 137, 115 area, 37, 113.70, then 115. We hit those two targets. We got another rinse and repeat. We broke to 618. We were going to go where? 116.60, 117, onward and upwards toward that 118 target. Bingo. We hit them all. Beautiful move. 1,700 plus point move. Now we're getting another retracement to then look for support, to bounce and go onward and upwards. Got it? Any questions? So further downside, hint, 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 Euro's going down, going down. Then we're going to look to buy it when that daily cycle finishes. When this daily cycle finishes and it turns and hooks up, that's when we buy, and that's what this automated system set up as. Pound dollar. Warned you about the pound, would not be buying this. We talked about buying it down here, and on these dips, keep buying till we get to the target zone. Then we're going to look for another correction. And I don't think this is the bottom just yet. I do think we could go lower, and maybe we get this pullback where the same type of thing. Magic Fibo, we're into the cloud, the daily's continuing to push. We're not quite finished the cycle. We're much closer to finishing that cycle than the euro dollar is. And look at what happened. We're above the Ichimoku cloud. We got sucked and pulled into the cloud. That's exactly what we're expecting. So even this pound dollar, I'm looking for when this finishes the cycle and hooks up, finishes the cycle, and then we can buy this, look for a bounce. So how do I know what my target is, Mr. Tucson? Because the pound looks like it's going to set up a buy signal before the euro. They typically move in like directions. So when one starts bouncing, they typically both bounce. But maybe the pound keeps pushing lower until the euro catches up, then they both trigger. But what we would be looking for on the pound? Same type of move, but you would use the same scenario. Even if this pound is not going to bounce off of this, say we get a little bounce off of here, then we take from the high to the low, you look for a 618786 retracement of this move. So maybe the pound does something like this, and then finishes the correction while the euro continues to push lower. The pound gives us a little bounce, and then we look for the next failure to break out, and then another push lower. So what are we saying here? Your target, when the pound reverses and the PAI buys it, your target's going to be a 618 retracement of that high to whatever this low is by the time that software sets up a buy, right? PAI comes down, it turns and hooks. Then we use that high to whatever the low is, and we look for a 618 retracement of that. Amen? So what are we saying over here? Same thing, that this push lower, do we think this is the low just yet? Well, we hadn't turned and hooked yet, so no. And I think the dollar is going to go higher, pushing this lower. At what point do we look to get that swing point low? Once this turns and hooks back up, we'll have a new swing point low. And then when a PAI hooks, that'll be the high to the low. And then what would my target for a scalp be to get to my position of authority? A 618 retracement of that move. Got it? From that high to whatever the low is, a 618 retracement of that would be what I could be scalping, getting to a position of authority. Now, what if it gets there and I'm in a position of authority and just keeps going? Great, you're still in it to win it. Well, we've been in this pound trade since 3 years ago when this baby bottomed here at 103. And I told you back then that this is a great idea to go along the pound because we're looking for a retracement thousands and thousands of pips later. Well, so far we went from 103 up to about 137, almost 138. So 103, 113, 23, almost 30, that's like almost 3,000 pips. Actually over 3,000 pips, 3,400 pips to get to that 3,800 area. So yeah, That is what we were talking about. Now, Emil and others, is this the end and we could go making some new low? It's possible, but I still think we probably typically go a little bit deeper before we do that. So what am I looking for this to do? Turn over slingshot, just like we did here. I'm going to look to do it again, and I'm going to look to higher low, higher high, higher low, higher high. So until price proves otherwise, we still believe the pound is going up here to that 150 to 170 area, sweet spot somewhere around 160, 165. That will not change until price proves otherwise. And the fact that we ran into the Magic Fibo and got rejected, that's no surprise either. That was a major support versus resistance zone, and that's why it's imperative you have the Magic Fibo on your charts. All right, so you can see on a monthly chart, Magic Fibo is this big orange line, and we ran right into it to get rejected so far. Amen? Ran right into it. That's why it's so important you have it on your chart. So, do I think if this plays out like we're expecting, we get to that 160 area, 160, 165, then we'll come down, find support, break above the Magic Fibo, come down and retest it and get support off of it. So we need to convert it from resistance to support. And then with continuation to get up toward that 160, 165 target. I think before we would get up there, we're going to break this, retest it to bounce off of it. Is kind of the plan. All right. And if this is the end, then we start to say, Houston, we have a problem from this swing point low to that swing point high. We got our 618786 support zone right there, right in this area. I know there's a lot of lines on here, but that's the zone that as long as we hold this 130 area, we should be good. 138, 130 down about 125-ish, the support zone. So retrace, support, bounce, and go higher. But it's imperative from this swing point low up to this Magic Fibo, this retracement holds this zone. We don't start breaking below that, because then it says we're going to go to the extensions below there, and onward and downward we go. So then with Houston, we have a problem about going way higher. If we don't start holding this zone and bouncing, and we start breaking below and start coming down to these lower lows, then yeah, we got a problem. All right. But up and until then, this is just simply that daily cycle coming down, and we're already breaking. So here's a scalping trade for you. We already broke below yesterday. We closed below the 618 2 days ago, and that says we got a 75% chance we go on to 133. 70 plus we go on to 132.60. So any rally short term should be sold. Got it? Any rally on the pound dollar short term should be sold, because we're headed down to 133, 132.60. And as we grunt and grind over the next few days or so, Magic Fibo is still sloping upward. So maybe we end this daily cycle when it PAI hooks. We're down here around the Magic Fibo, bouncing off of that, and the PAI hook is reversing for a buy. Right? So that's the monthly. Look at the daily. So I'm going to look as a scalper, I'm going to look to buy this once we get this reversal and this baby hooks up and this finishes the cycle down. So what is that saying? I'm not looking to buy now. I'm looking to buy when it gets down to that 133, 132 area. So let me come back over here. When it gets down to this 133, 132 area. So this is my buy zone. As this decline, hint, 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 any short-term rally should be sold till we get down into this target. And then when the daily PAI hooks up, that's a good buying opportunity for us to scalp it to the upside. And again, what's my target going to be? From this high to whatever this low is, say it's 132, 133 area. And then if that high to low, we get a 618786 from that. That would be my scalping target to the upside. In the interim, we're still scalping to the short side down to 133, 132. Amen? Well, look at the euro dollar in the same breath. Where's the euro likely headed? Well, we have the same measurement off of this recent correction move. This one is about to set up. So from this recent little pullback low up to the current high, we're just about to get to the 618 zone, and that would be the 618786 right here. Green box upon green box upon green box. But what happens if we break that? If we close below the 618, so we start closing below 115.90, 115.80, then we have a 75% chance we go on to 114. 70 plus we go on to 113.50. Everybody good? So pound has already done it. We're going to 133, 132. Euro's a little bit lagging because we're getting into the 618 zone. We hadn't broken it yet. But when we do, you can continue to expect this grind lower and start targeting 114, 113.50. And my Magic Fibo is sitting down here sloping upward. So that would be my short-term targets, 113, 114 area. We break that, then down here to Magic Fibo. Got it? All right, so any rallies on the euro should be sold in the short term. And then once the daily cycle finishes over here, we're going to look to buy this dip and then scalp it from what? The high to the low. Look for 618 retracement. Because typically, if this is just going to continue lower, you're going to get a bounce to a 618 failure for a continuation, but you can scalp that bounce. High probability. That's what a PAI hook, cycle down, and reverses says. That's a buy. Scalp it, get to your position of authority. All right, let's continue. Today was a news release day. Actually, let me go over dollar yen. I did say that would continue higher as long as the dollar's grinding higher. This would bounce higher, expecting it to go up here to this resistance zone. What is that resistance zone? That's the former swing point high to swing point low. My 618786 zone, actually from 0.5, but here's my 618786 zone. So we're getting closer and closer to that 50%. So those of you that have been long here, I'd be in a position of authority. Not to say we can't go higher, sure. As the dollar goes higher, I expect this dollar yen to go higher. But when the dollar reverses, I expect this dollar yen to reverse with it. So be careful. Yes, I do think it's going to go higher. So we talked about buying this dollar yen trade. We placed it the last class or so on that review, and it's still grinding higher, onward and upwards. 151 is the potential target, and we already went from this low of 142 to 148, not too shabby. And yes, I do think there's a little something left, Mr. Tucson, but be careful. If the dollar rallies to the Magic Fibo in that zone and gets rejected, this is going to get rejected as well. Amen. And the pound yen, again, markets are still rallying. This could rally a little bit more. This is a very tough nut to crack. So be careful on that. I'm really not looking for this pound yen to go ripping to the new highs just yet. This is part of this recent high to low. We're stuck. So we're likely going to get another push lower. But it may be that our markets continue to rally for a few months and then we get the big one. But eventually, even if this thing does go popping even higher, I'm looking to sell it when we get Elizabeth. I'm coming to join you, honey, on the markets. Speaking of markets, we have, let me go over here to the current month and week. We just had today CPI, which came out basically in line. Month over month was a little bit under. CPI month over month in line, and then year over year slightly ticking up. So tick lower, tick higher, in line. So all of this tariffs, all these hundreds of billions of dollars bringing in tariff income has not caused inflation, which every Tom, Dick, and Harry, and then some, said tariffs equal higher consumer prices, higher consumer prices. So there you have it. Inflation has not been registering just yet. So this is a good thing. The markets tend to like that, as we saw a little bit of a bounce overnight into this morning. So let's come over here to our ES. And we rallied into the zone. We get a little bit of a pullback. So what am I expecting with July seasonality? We said that this would grind and grunt its way towards 63.60. And so far, Mr. Tucson, we hit a high of 63.43. Not too shabby, right? Grunting, grinding, laboring type of move, but likely going to continue to grind. And I stated that no later than the end of the month, but could be much sooner, we'd grind up into that zone. We're still a little bit shy, so these pullbacks should be bought, because I do think we're going to go up and test that 63.60 area. And again, we were a handful shy off of that recent run into it. So this is just typical that we're grinding, grunting, and looking for another little push. But as we drill down, this is of interest because we're looking after this latest little move up. Do we need another little correction first? Well, just looking at pure price action off the latest move, we talked about this last week, right? We said after this run up, we had this three-wave correction right here, A, B, C. Had a run up, another correction, run up. So this is going to be an important area to hold. If we don't hold the 618 off of this, then we're likely going to go make some new lows. And you can use your 2.2 from the recent low to the recent high. So Mr. Tucson and others, if you're trading this market on a daily basis or scalping or trading futures, this is an area to watch, this 618786 zone. And all that is from the recent low to the recent high. If we hold this and continue the bounce, then where's this going? We trace down, bounce, we're going at 63.60. Every time I look at this, that number keeps coming back up, 63.60, over and over and over. And this is on a 15-minute. And last week when we talked about this, we held the 618. We went toward the extension. We then held the zone here, went up. We came back down, held the zone yet again, went back up. So this is part of what looks to be an ending diagonal. This looks like a lot of overlapping chopping action, and this looks to be an ending diagonal. So if this plays out, we should get another bounce for one more push up toward that 63.60 area. Then we could get a pretty nice, hearty, fast pullback after that's over. And then we'll look for buying the dip as we continue, more than likely, toward our year-end target, somewhere around that 6,600 or late fall type of target. So any questions on this recent pullback overnight? as we rallied up to make all-time highs, and then we're pulling back. Watch the support zone. Again, that's roughly right around that 62.90 down to about 62.75, this zone. So as long as we hold that, we should bounce and continue toward that 63.50, 63.60 area. And that's what we said, even as this pullback three-wave correction, and then we had the 618 bounce and continuation, that's where we were headed. And sure enough, we're just a tick shy from 47 to 43, like 4 ticks shy of that so far. And I don't think it's finished, so we're going to look for a correction and then a push. Got it? So if we hold this, then look for this to rally towards 63.50, 63.60. And what's the level? One more time. It's this 62.90 to 62.75, 62.90, 62.70, roughly about 20-point zone. Come down in here, bounce, then bounce up to 63.50, 63.60. NASDAQ, doing kind of the same, went on to grind new highs. Let's go out to a daily view. I'll show you daily views on all of these, but there's your targets, 23.3, 24. So my first target's between a 23.3, 23.4 area. Where does that come from? These recent smaller pullbacks. So go back to the 15 and we'll stretch that out and we'll see these recent pullback here that we grinded from the high to the low. And look how these continue. Emil, James, Ian, Mr. Tucson, Harold, William Bruce, can't make this stuff up. That was part of the initial target from the recent rejection. And we went to that zone, and typically, even on the lower time frame, you typically come back down, test the Magic Fibo, or you come back to where we broke out from to find support to continue higher, come back to Magic Fibo, and then go higher. So I do think, again, keep buying the dips on this as we're headed toward 23.3 up here, 23.4. You can see it in front of us. So this should continue this stair-stepping, grunting, grinding, pogo stick, bounce, bounce, bounce sideways to upwards, targeting that 23.3, 23.4 area. And I suspect we'll get there no later than by the end of the month. But any dip should be bought till we get up here. Then I'm looking for another correction before then another push into late fall, end of the year, that type of thing. Got it? So sure enough, even as you drill down on these, this 618786 works like a charm, right? We got a pullback, we bounced, we closed above the 618. That told us when we closed above this, basically 2392, 22,992. When we closed above that, we were going to go to 23,148, 75% chance. And we had a 70 plus, we'd go to 23,186. We did both of those. In this pullback, typically you do what after you do that? You do your extension, you close above a 618, you reach these targets, you typically get a pullback at least to the area in which we broke out. And if not, the Magic Fibo, then we look for another bounce. And then the big number is going to be just like we did for the other one. You do a 2.2 from the recent low up to the high, 2.2, the recent low up to the high. We need for this area to hold for us to continue higher. That is my 618786 right there. So Mr. Tucson, what if we don't hit the breakout zone and bounce and go higher? Where are we going? 23.3-ish, 23.4, 23,400, kind of the plan. Well, is it going to hold here to get there, or we're going to come down here and bounce, or are we going to get a 618 type of retracement to bounce out of there to get there? Well, as long as the NASDAQ holds this 22,960 down to 22,890 area, see it? As long as we hold that, then expectations we're going to bounce yet again for some new all-time highs and head towards our 23.4. 23,340/23.4. That's this line right there is at 23. So when I go back out to the daily, 23,340. And on the smaller scale, 23.4. Got it? So hint, hint, hint. Small retracements, continuation. Long as we hold the support zone, we're still expecting it to go up there. And I would not be surprised to see us get there by the end of the month, if not sooner, as this continues to grind higher. Fair enough? All right. The one I'm very concerned is we're still in the danger zone with IWM, and this is not conducive to even this most recent move. You know, you get your pullback, it works on all of these. From that high to that low, where did we go? We reached our extensions, and the first place you come back to is where you broke out from. That didn't hold. We went down to Magic Fibo. It held, bounced, went to a 618 high, low, 618 retracement, which you don't see it on the chart, but I just line you to death. That high to that low, where did we go? 618 retracement again. See it? Rinse and repeat. So this one is more bearish. We're recent from the high to the low. We did a 618 retracement, got rejected. Now we're breaking new lows. So what does that tell you? Where is my downside short-term target for this? 3.2. That high, this low, that lower high, we're looking for 218, 216. So this is my short-term target, 218, 260. All right. Not looking good for the IWM. That's why, again, I have a put spread out to September in use for what I call my portfolio protection. If this baby can go plummeting and dropping, and we start to get a push lower, then by all means, I know you got to go to the daily chart to see the bigger picture, but by all means, we start to get that bigger push lower, then I'll take profits, and we get the end of the year rally. Still not looking for this to go much higher. So remember my statement, before we break 260, we're going to break 160 on IWM. Just like I stated on ES, before we go breaking 7, we're going to break 4. That's the plan. Before we break 7, we're going to break 4. Let's see how that plays out. And with IWM or Russell, before we go breaking 260, we're going to go breaking 160. And all of this chopping, overlapping action is screaming another push lower. So what has this done? Where everybody else, since the COVID, I keep saying COVID, since the tariff talk low, V-shaped recovery, NASDAQ went on all-time highs. S&P went on all-time highs. Look at the Russell. Barely went into the danger zone. So that's not conducive to a breakout. That's conducive to another flush. And then from 2021, all this overlapping chopping action with this double top and this latest move still says, before we go breaking 260, we're going to break 160 to the downside. Look out. This is a totally different chart than we're seeing on the others. Dow, it too is the other one that hadn't quite went on to all-time highs. It's close, but no cigar. So I'm watching that very closely. See, we still had a lower high where ES went on to all-time highs, NASDAQ went on to all-time highs, Dow basically is trying to double top, but still hasn't made an IWM is not even close. So look for the Dow to continue to grind higher into later this year by year end when we get those blow off tops, ES to 6,600, NASDAQ somewhere around that 24,000 to 26,000 ish range. I expect to see the Dow get up here in that 45 to 50,000 range, 46 to 50 area. So really not looking for a massive pullback in this, just looking for a little pullback and continuation. But be careful from that high to this low. We haven't broken out yet, but it still says we have a higher probability from this high to that low. We did take out the 618786, so we're going to 46, 75% chance, 46.2, 70 plus plus, we go into 47,300 zone. That's why I keep buying the dips on the Dow, as we should go higher as well. And the strategy, we already got what we needed to go here. So it's just a matter of time before these dips continue to grind higher and get to these targets. So all of them have all-time high written in the books except IWM. And IWM says before we go breaking all-time highs into 260, we're going to break 160. Any questions on that? Any questions on that? So back to the calendar, CPI again was in line up here. Tomorrow we have PPI. Wouldn't expect much on its outcome either. So this should come basically in line based on what they're expecting and what the scenario looks like. In line would be likely. And then we have earnings, a lot of earnings kicking back up over the next several weeks. We'll have hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of companies reporting. So that could be the drift. But with PPI, CPI today, PPI tomorrow, some more earnings, that'll probably be the catalyst. But that's why we keep talking about what we're expecting in these moves for these just to continue. I think this is going to go lower, and I think ES and NASDAQ are going to keep grinding to their respective targets. All right. All righty. Let's continue. What about the Nikkei? What about the global liquidity? Is this the one that's finally going to go breaking out and bring this back? We're testing and testing and testing, failed, 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 most recently failed. But we're consolidating here, where before we'd fail, we'd fail, we'd fail, we'd fail, we'll fail. We really didn't consolidate. So this might be the one leading towards this breakout to a new high. This is the highest one we broke above that 40,000. And we're still pulled back, but we're consolidating, looking like we're getting for the next run. So I think we're going to see this across the board. And even the Nikkei, from the high to the low, we broke the 618. We're testing the 786. So Mr. Tucson, when we start getting back above this swing point, that says we have a 75% chance we're going to 44, 70 plus we're going to 45, might get real feisty and go up to 50. But I think you're going to see them all. When ES is up at 6,600, NASDAQ is up at 24 to 26,000 range, and you're likely going to see the Nikkei up here in that 45 to 50,000 range. And all I do is look at this for global liquidity. Fair enough. All righty. How about that? What about Tesla? Well, we got earnings coming up, and I'm watching this closely, man, as we were discussing the other day, that if this baby starts breaking out into earnings, look for a pullback. If we start pulling back into earnings, look for a bounce. Kind of does the opposite of what you expect sometimes. So earnings is on the 23rd, so it won't be until next week after the closing on Wednesday. So I'm watching to see what Tesla's going to do. Are we going to rally into earnings? If so, then we look for a pullback. If we break down into earnings, then I'm looking for a bounce. But I still think I'm long TSLL. I'm long Tesla. I think Tesla's going to make that big push into the end of the year and go blowing up toward that 600 plus range. I don't think this is the end of the move and we go down, but you got to be in tune with what's on the charts. That this big move down, this retracement to the 618 zone, rejection still could give us one more push down to maybe 160. All I can say is, what if, Mr. Tucson, that this fizzles, we go into earnings and earnings disappoint, and we go selling off and we come down anywhere to 200 or lower, back the truck up, right? Might even sell some options down here so that if we do dip down that far, then you'd be given stocks to buy at that low price. But this is a beautiful buying opportunity if this baby plunges down here to do this duplicate move. Like we said, still on the chart, that big red arrow. If that happens, all I can say 200 and lower down to say 200, 160 zone is back to truck up zone for Tesla. Because even if it did that, still think it's going up to 600 zone. We may not get that. Like I said, if we start rallying into earnings, I think we'll get a pullback. We go dipping into earnings, I think we'll get a pop. But where I think Tesla's going, even with this on being on the chart, doesn't mean it's going to play out that way. Even if it did, I have a strategy where I'm going to be buying down here big time and selling up there. If not, and I don't get down here, I'm still selling up there and I'm already in it with TSLL. So what does that mean? That means if we get Tesla to tank down, TSLL is going to tank down, and I'll just add that many more shares at a much lower price for even that to go ripping higher when Tesla makes its move. Fair enough? Everybody good? All righty. Let's continue. What about Black Gold, Texas Tea, the Beverly Hillbillies? Still testing this zone, grinding its way and grinding and getting rejected again as the Russian oil, this, that, and the tariffs and the latest Putin and Trump drama that he's not listening. And now we got to sell weapons to NATO, somehow Patriot missiles, etc. A lot of things going on here. But I would be remiss if I didn't remind you what the software looks like. So I'm still more bullish than bearish at the moment, but there is a technical picture playing out. Daily's kind of engaging and disengaging. We got the weekly that's engaging and disengaging, and we have the monthly that is turning up. So that's why I'm still more bullish than bearish, because I trust the gauges and I trust my technical analysis, God-given talent to read and interpret price on a chart. So I did say this would probably start grinding, and then after that big pullback with the Iran bunker busters, etc., we bounced off of the 618, we climbed and we started to close above this, started to look good. We were going to go up here. So I still think we're going to get more upside. But if this pullback does not hold this support zone around 64, we're likely going to go to 50, but I like this 60 zone even more so. So if we start closing below 64, the writing's on the wall. We're probably going to go down to 53/50 area. Well, if we take out 60, that's reiterating the same thing that we're going down to 53.50. So watch this technical picture. Be careful. That I still think there's more upside, yes, based on the software. But if we start closing below this swing point that we came down and bounced and checked so many times to go higher, if we take that out, it's starting to set the tone for what? Do the math. High to low, this is beginning of that 618 zone. And if we break it and close below the swing point low, and my 786 is down to 60, you can see it. So Ian, if we see this rejection and it does close below this swing point low, then we have a 75% chance we go into 52. 70 plus, we go into 50. Amen? Even though I'm more bullish than bearish, that's the technical picture screaming. Now, well, as we hold this, close above this swing point, we've tested several times. We close above that, then we're going up here 74, 75. We close above that, it's over. We're going to 90 to 100. Yes, we got 80, 82, 87 as extension and targets. But if we start taking this out, not only do I think we're going to go up several dollars to 80, 82, 87, we're en route to 90/100. So we got a long of it. We close above 75, it's over. We're going to 90 to 100 with these 81, 82, 87, 90, 95 targets up to 100. Got it? And if not, even though I'm still more bullish than bearish, we're stuck. So what can oil prices do? That. They could come down here, find support, go up there, and just kind of do this for weeks and months too. It does not mean we have to go breaking out. It does not mean we have to go breaking down. We can just chop sideways. So if you're scalping, fine. But if you're long term, I'd wait for a break to set the tone for the big move up, or the break lower to set the tone for the big move lower. All righty, so everybody's good. More than likely, we're going to get that. Chop, 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 and just kind of drift sideways. If we take the swing point low out, we should be going down to low 50s to 50. If we take the swing point resistance zone up here out, that 75 area, then we're going to 80, 82, 87, onward and upwards toward 90 and 100. In the interim between this resistance and this support, we're going to chop. Everybody with me? All right. Yellow gold. Still think we're going to get that big ABC. I think this is clearly setting up. I hear the gold bugs out there. Keep buying gold, and you buy gold and it goes down. Keep buying gold. You see it's breaking out. Buy gold, breaking out. Buy gold, breaking down. Buy gold, breaking down. Oh, I told you to buy gold, breaking down. So I've been saying this for a while now, ever since we hit 3,500. I said, we're going to come back to the Magic Fibo. It's long, long, long overdue. So all of this price action equals, so far in my humble opinion, this is an A. This was the B. And we're working on our C down. Still looking for at least the Magic Fibo at 3,000. If not, sweet spot of about 2,800 for that wave C. Then we can look for the next big run. Any questions on that? Now, this could still take weeks or even months to get down here. It's been chopping sideways and going nowhere since April, May, June, July, 3 months. We really hadn't gone anywhere, right? So, Mr. Tucson, we start closing below this 39, 32.90, 32.70, this little green box. I think you're going to see some acceleration this way. And I'm looking for a 5 wave out of this. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. But minimum, so even if this is 3, 4, 5, and we get to 3,000, or 3, 4, 5, we get to 2,800. Still think gold's coming down a minimum 3,000 Magic Fibo area. If not, maybe a little bounce and one more push to where it's like 2,800. Still kind of my sweet spot is around 2,800. All right. Any questions on that? A, B, C. Kind of a gnarly overlapping chopping correction, but it should still end up with this type of move. Then we go higher. Silver. Silver's trying its best to get that pop. Remember, I said the other day, maybe it's going to take silver one more pop to kind of then get set up for its pullback. But when gold gets down to its target, 3,300 to 2,800 zone, everybody with me? 33, 3,000 to 2,800 zone, I expect silver to at least be back toward its Magic Fibo. And if we break that, then we could even maybe get a new swing point low. But anything below the Fibo and lower is gravy. Louisiana lagniappe at its best. And this is on silver. You know, I like SLV. And sure enough, we popped up to the extension. Now we're correcting. So I even kind of mentioned that I still expect this at least to the Magic Fibo, if not to 25 or lower. I still have my good till cancel orders down here. But either way, buying SLV, even at $34 is a steal. We're going to 60, 70, $60, $70. But this correction should come into play. And as gold corrects, silver's going to correct. The only question is, right, ladies and gentlemen, do we get down here to Magic Fibo around 30, hold there, and then go breaking out? Or do we break it, come a little bit lower, giving us a new swing point low, then we go breaking? So I do have these extensions down here with good till cancel orders. And if it dips down in here and it fills, great. If it doesn't, still in it to win it to go to 60 to 70. You're looking at a double. Hint, hint, hint. We're looking at a double. And I do think it's going to come down back toward the Magic Fibo, if not lower by the time it's done. What's the parameter I'm looking for? When gold gets to its 3,000, 2,800 zone, it's starting to look like, okay, that's the end of that move. It's ready for the bounce. Wherever silver is, be a good buying opportunity. I can't tell you what to do. No buy, sell, the whole recommendation. I'm not a certified financial planner. But I can tell you what I'm doing as a disclaimer. Sure, that's what I'm doing. That's what I'm already been doing. And as we got the dip back over here near 25, went to 24, I told you then this is a tremendous buying opportunity. And now that it rallied, go back to this bigger picture we talked about years ago with silver. This big picture right here was this move. when silver touched down here during that ridiculous scenario, I was like, back the truck up for that. Then we got a 618 retracement, and we kept telling you silver's going to 35, and silver's eventually going to work its way to 41. And sure enough, look where we going. And now, when this correction is over, whether we come down at $30 range and this is on a higher time frame, monthly, I'm not expecting us to come all the way to the monthly Magic Fibo, but I'm looking for this 30 or lower to come into play and buy that dip. And how are we going to get up there? We're going to see this monthly go slingshotting higher and higher for years. It's like silver did this slingshot lower and lower for quite some time till it finally bottomed and the big reversal. Well, now I'm expecting this baby to continue this slingshot higher and higher and higher and higher and higher and higher and higher. And this will just keep kind of drifting and turning down, turning up, turning down, turning up, but drifting and drifting. And this baby's going to the moon, where? $60 to $70. But we talked about this years ago that we were going up here. And we reached one, we're still en route for number two. And once we break that, we're going where? 60, 70. And that's on this chart. Go out to the higher time frame, do a weekly, bring this down, bring this into perspective. Here it is, 60, 70. Bingo, been there. And we're going to say, done that. End of the year, next year. Timing is everything. That's why I buy shares, and I don't care. Is it today, tomorrow, next week, next month, Emil? Is it 2026? Is it on my birthday, February 26, 2026? That's kind of a nice ring, 26 of 26. Maybe it's then. All I know, it's a done deal. Done deal, McNeil. No ifs, no buts, no ands, no exceptions. Silver is going to 60, 70, guaranteed. Now, who's out there to say guaranteed? There are no guarantees, right? Well, this is one of them. Again, look for the correction. Do we stop on the daily Magic Fibo around 30 to bounce? Do we break it to go down a little bit more to bounce? Well, right now you can buy it and shoot for 60, 70. That's your double. Amen? And buy it. If you don't have any, buy a few shares now. Because if it runs off, you'll be glad you're in it. Well, hopefully you bought it when we talked about it a long time ago. But if not, perfect opportunity to buy a little bit now. I do think it's going to correct further. So even if you buy some now, buy more, the lower it goes. Buy more, buy more, buy more, buy more. And if we can get to that 25 where we have those junk orders, that's even better. Because then we're talking almost a triple to get up to my 70 target if we can get down to 25. So I'm going to reiterate it one more time. I definitely think gold is going to finish with this type of move and correct down to 3,000, 2,800 is the plan. When all this overlapping corrective action is over, we should get a nice little push down. When that happens and we start talking, okay, Mia, that looks done. Time for gold to start bouncing and start breaking out again. Wherever silver is at that juncture, which in my humble opinion will be down here around that Magic Fibo. This is sloping upwards, and right now it's right around 30 bucks. So somewhere around that $30 range, maybe we get there and bounce. Where if gold's down at its 3,000, 2,800 zone, looking to bottom and finish that move, then silver is going to bottom and finish its move here and go higher. Or if we go breaking below, then we can get some of those junk bids filled. But anywhere at 30 and below, no reason not to add SLV shares. Then we don't have to worry about, is it today, tomorrow, next week, next month, next year, when SLV reaches 60, 70, which is Go to Costco and buy a silver bar. That's fine too. Don't care how you do it. Just as a high probability, we're going to 60, 70, and my high probability is 1,000% chance on a 100% scale. That's how confident I know silver is going to reach 60. It's also going to reach 70. No questions asked. And another big thing I like about this, you go out to the higher time frame, you look at, actually go out to a monthly, you look at the 2011 high over here with that pullback, gold's already extending out, right? From that high to that low, we already went to the 272, 2618, pushing the limits already. See that? Up above 2618. And look at poor silver. Silver hadn't even broken out to new highs yet, all-time highs that is. But what if it goes and it starts to catch up to that 2618? Wow, that's $400 loan. Are you out of your mind? There's no way silver can get to $400. Oh yeah? It is a finite amount of silver out there. It's not an unlimited source. And with all this AI, all these drones, all the EVs, and they're going to come out with these EV copters and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So it's going to be like George Jetson. You're going to be able to catch a little flying taxi cab and all those things. You use a ton of silver. AI is using a ton of silver. Limited finite source. So what happens when you have huge demand, limited supply, price is going to go to the moon. So am I trying to tell you buy this right now and by next week or next month or even next year, it's going to be up at $400? Anything's possible. But that's why this target of 60, 70 is a guarantee. No questions asked. All right. All right. Bitcoin broke out. Let's go to the daily. And it went right to the target. Emil, what did we say? If Bitcoin breaks this breakout, it's going to go where? 120, 130. Huh. How? Went right to it. Topped out at 123. Yeah, we're getting a little bit of a pullback. That's typical. Amen. That is a typical move here. Right there. What's next? Well, we have, I'm going to start doing this. Up to the high. From this recent low up to the high. Are we going to get a deeper pullback? Well, first thing, what we talk about when you get these high, low, you reach your extensions. Where do you typically go back to, Harold? Back toward the breakout zone. So would I be surprised if Bitcoin sells off a little bit more? No. You typically, after your low to high, you get your extensions, which we reached them. That's why I told you we were going to 120. If we broke out, we would head to 120 minimum. It did exactly that. Now the correction, and did I not say, go back in the archive, that when we reach this zone, we were then going to get a pullback. Right? It's kind of commonplace. So typically you pull back toward the breakout zone. That looks like a little bit more down. And if we don't hold that, then you come back down toward the 618, 786 zone. So from the low to the high, you get your 618, 786 zone, which from, let me make sure, I'm going to take these off and put them back to make sure I have the right ones. And stretch this out. Give you some clean charting here. So from the recent low to the recent high, and of course, I need to pull it down. Recent high we're going to look for the 618786 zone, which is right there. So A, we reach the high-low extensions. We pull back to typically the breakout where it occurred to bounce and go higher. If that doesn't hold, then we look for the 618786 area to hold to then set up the next big run. All right. Any questions on that? And then we do what? We could run a 3-point tool from the low to the high to what if we just go to the breakout point around 112? Then that'd put us around 139, 140, 150. This would be ideal. Get a little correction to the breakout zone, and we go popping up to our zone, 150, 175, still my target. Harold, we're getting closer, my friend. From our 15,000 low, when it was below 20,000, I kept telling everybody, this is an opportunity of a lifetime to be buying at below 20,000 as a steal. It's a crime to be able to buy at that low. And now we reached up to 123, and I don't think it's finished. I think we're going to get a correction. Do we correct back to the breakout? Or do we correct back with a little 618 type of retracement to go up? But this dip should be bought because I do think it's going much higher. Still toward our targets. And when this breakout occurred, I said it would go where? 120 to 130 and then get a pullback. That's pretty spot on. Amen? So in closing, drill down, look at current price action, and we can go into NinjaTrader and go to Bitcoin and see why, as we went into that extension target, why are we starting to see a bit of a pullback? And that's because our daily is extremely overbought, and our weekly, after slingshotting higher and higher, is in overbought territory. It too's been slingshotting, but that was kind of the plan ever since it was down here at 15,000. We started talking about buy the dips, buy the dips, buy the dips, and we would slingshot Palooza into late September, October of this year, kind of the plan. I expect more of the same, but we're due for another little pullback and then another rocket higher. Amen. So the software is saying part of that pullback, we're looking good. The daily starting to turn over. The 4-hour is in tune with rolling over and pushing lower. Should update and put it on a 4-hour in a minute. Might take a second, but it's setting up. And I don't have a lot of candles on here, but the 4-hour cycling down. So when's a good time to buy this dip? When the 4-hour gets oversold, probably the next day or two, as this pullback will give us a little more legs and then look for the big surge. Fair enough. Let me see if I can go in here. Instruments, data series. No wonder why. How about 365 days? That's much better. That looks better now. There we go. So what are we looking for? Likely going to come down toward the Magic Fibo on the 4-hour, finish the cycle down, and look for a bounce to go out of there. So on this chart, I'm looking for a retracement, probably to at least this breakout point. We kind of reached the zone, we tested, came back. We tested the breakout. We retested it when it was resistance, turned into support. That was the breakout. Same point as that. See it? Went up to the target. Now Harold likely, I mean, it's not like, well, bet your life that this thing isn't going to reverse and go higher from here. It's likely we're going to push a little bit lower, get that 4-hour cycle down, and then get a reversal off of that. So is it going to stop here at that 1 116 area, 112, 13 area, or are we going to go a little bit deeper toward this low to high 618? But either way, I'm looking for a massive bounce. And the target we gave you oodles ago back in 2022, when we bottomed, let's go out to a weekly and compress this chart a little bit. But back when we got the crypto winter low in 2022, and I kept telling you, Bitcoin below 20,000 is a crime, a steal. And for these few weeks, months, while we were below 20,000, I kept telling you, man, this is a steal. Even as it got to 30 plus thousand rounds, like below 30,000 is a steal. And it took off. So just as a quick reminder on the crypto arena, every 4 years you get what they call a crypto halving. And post halving, we go on a 12 to 18 month run. So in 2012, 2016, 12 to 18 month run, 2020, 12 to 18 month run. Most recent halving 2024, we're in the midst of that 12 to 18 month run. And that ends in this year, September, October, end of the year this year. We set up the next big decline. So as you go from the highs to the lows on the last crypto high to lows, notice where they come in: 18, 22. We're going to expect the low to be in sometime late 26. Keep going. 14 over here. Actually, let's bring this over that way a little bit more. That low was in 14 right there in December. So we bottom in 14, 18, 22, 26. And where did we top out? 13, 17, 21, 25. So by this crime area low, we're going to get another one of those on Bitcoin in late 2026. And wherever that bottom is, like I told you here in 2022, when it was below 20,000, you cannot go wrong buying it there. That's going to be over here somewhere in 2026. We'll be able to see what the high is to what the low should be, and will be with us. And I'll be able to tell you again, Harold, hey, it's now 2026 late, and we believe price action is starting to bottom. We have halving in 2028. This is a given number. The date, to be exact date and time, you can track it, but it's going to be sometime in 2028, probably April to May of 2028. And we'll look for the same type of thing. We'll buy low in late 2026, and we'll, like we did in 22, we'll sell in 25. We'll buy in 26. We'll sell in 29. Rinse and repeat, rinse and repeat. The good news is we haven't finished, right? We are not finished. So in closing on Bitcoin, we're definitely not finished. We're part of the correction, and then we're going to look for the next big surge. And as we find support and go breaking out, this thing could easily rip to that 150 target next time around. So we still got to break above this 125 to 130 area when our miners should go ballistic. And Mara made a nice chunk of a move coming into this. There it is, Mara. Made a nice little move up here up to 21. It is a catch up because it's not breaking out like Bitcoin broke out. But I think when we get to that profit margin, 125 to 130, that's going to stimulate these to go ripping. But we're up big, right? We're buying down below $10, $9. We're more than doubled. And I still think there's a lot left on this bone before we're done. How high do we go? I want to see how it reacts when Bitcoin's sitting at say above 130, 130,000, and it's moving toward that 150 to 170,000 range. This thing should go ripping. What if we only get to 50 bucks from below 10? That's huge. And remember, when we started buying this, we bought at 9 and we sold up here at 20 something. We bought some more, rinse and repeat, rinse and repeat. Actually, it was further on this daily chart. When it was down in the zone, we kept buying, went up, said buy, went up, took profit. So, Harold, that's how we do this. Whether you buy them and hold them, well, you're going to unload them when it comes into late this year when Bitcoin's up 150, 175 or higher. Then we're going to unload this. Where's it going to be? I'm still thinking at least the 50 range. We should go breaking this resistance zone. The pop would bring us right to that next zone, which happens to be the bigger resistance zone. And if we break that, then it's game over. We're going to go above 100. So we'll see. When we get to 130 and above, and Bitcoin's going from 130 to 150, 170, where's this guy going to go? If it starts breaking this zone here, we're going to the 50s, 50 to 60 range. We break that, we're going to go up here to 90 to 100 plus. From a small investment of below $10, $8, $9. That's that low. And we're going to do the same thing, right, Harold? We're going to look for these miners still around going into the next cycle, which the big thing now is for companies like MicroStrategies to buy just a ton of Bitcoin. So maybe the big moves are in some of those companies as opposed to some of these miners. We'll see if they survive. But this has been a great one for us, and I'm looking for a lot more optimism still before this is over. Amen? All righty. And with Bitcoin's breakout, Ethereum made a nice little run. It's pulling back, of course, like Bitcoin's pulling back, but it made a nice little run above 3,000. I'm on euro dollar. No, I'm on Ethereum. It broke out above 3,000, right? So this could be the beginning. Man, what if this thing's trying to catch up with Bitcoin? Well, there's your targets, 45 to 48. We still got to get above this 618 we're testing from the high to the low. We're testing it now. So Harold, we start to see a close above 3,000, especially 3,500. Then we're expecting this thing to make a nice run. Well, you look at the bigger picture, and 4,000 has been its albatross. Tested it, failed. Tested it, failed. Tested it, big fail. And now we're just about to start breaking the 618 to target 45, 48. I like it. We start closing above this little battle zone at 3,500, 786, 3,000, basically 3,100 is the 618, 786, these two red arrows. We start closing above that. Then it says we go on to 45, 75%, 70 plus plus, we go on to 48. And by doing that, sets the tone for these targets. But by breaking 4,000, I think we're going to these targets. So we'll see how that plays out. But our ETHU is soaring higher. Look at that, baby. How about that? Even after the reverse split, we're in profit and expect to get it. Well, we got profit. No, house is money. When we bought it low and it spiked up, and I know this pricing isn't the same because of the split. When we bought it, it was like a $4 range and it went up to 12, got a triple, and then took the house's money and started buying at these lows again. Again, these prices are not reflective of what they were until the split. But now, even since then, you bought those lows, you got less shares, but you're still up in profit off of that move. And where can this thing go? Again, we were up here around 200, 250 area when Ethereum was up at 4,000. And we went from here to there That's almost half the journey. So this is why I think we could be in the 200 range if Ethereum can get to that 44,000 again. Even if it underperforms and it only does a 618 of that, that'd put us about 165. And even if you bought 100 shares and now you only have 5 shares, whatever the split was, you got only a fraction of those shares. That's fine. Why? Because when it gets up here into that $160 range, you're already in profit. And again, this was the market's profit off of that move, tripled the investment, took that money to reinvest. And even since the split, I don't like seeing a lot less shares, but the price is much higher and it still plays out. So even in my broker right now, I am up in cash on the house's money. And I do think this thing can go a lot higher. And if Ethereum breaks 4,000, hits the 4,500, I would be very surprised to not see us up at that 250 level, maybe breaking out towards 300. Amen? All right. It does cut both ways, so there is a risk of, if you don't like volatility, then you shouldn't be trading crypto, because crypto is by far the most volatile investment alive that you can take. Amen? So more upside. If we can break 4,000, this thing should go ripping higher. So watch this 4,000. 3,000, we got to break first, 3,000, 3,500. Then it sets up, we go on to 45, 48, breaking some new highs of this 4,000 range. And I can assure you, Harold, if we do that and we get up to that 45, 48, pushing towards 5,000, I can't imagine ETHU isn't pushing this 160 to 200-ish range, if not even breaking out, headed towards 3. Everybody with me? All righty. So again, no buy, sell to hold. I own ETHU. I own a lot less of it because of that reverse split, but it was on the house's money anyway. And even after this bounce and the current price, even with the less shares, I'm still up in profit, on profit, and looking for a lot more profit. That's the plan. Amen? All righty. So in closing, any questions? Let's circle the wagons. ES, I still think part of this process is going to be, we're going to go pushing by by month end, we should be up around that 6360 area. Coming into the daily, we did go on and break all-time highs, and we're pulling back a little bit, and we're just shy of that 6360. So any of these dips should be bought. What do? We use the software. We can go to S&P back this direction, and we can go to S&P 500, and we go to the daily chart. Part of this little move is we talked about this turning over to continue the slingshot palooza. Well, I'm looking for another slingshot higher. And if we can ultimately get a daily to hook and cross, which we got one over here, then we'd get a 4-hour cycle down. And most recently, we got a hook and almost a full cross. So the 4-hour got close to cycling down, awfully close, and then it popped. So look for another little correction. 4-hour depressurized to slingshot, and my daily depressurized to slingshot, and look to buy this dip, as I suspect that, looking at the picture, we're going to continue this journey no later than the end of the month. We should be up at 6360, if not sooner, and this grind should continue higher. So this is why we put that in here. We said that we expect the seasonality June and markets continue to grind higher, and we're expecting that we would continue that move towards that target of 63.60. That was where we said grinding higher. I still expect gold to retrace further down toward the magic Fibo right there, this one. So look for gold to continue to correct around that 33,000, 2,800. And the dollar index should continue to grind higher toward that 199, 100 level. And again, on all of these charts, all we're looking for is these Fibo type retracements. And dollar index, just to show you what that looks like, is grind up toward this 618,786, 99 to 100 / magic Fibo. I'm looking for the euro and the pound to continue this decline further. Once the euro closes below this 115.50 area, then we're expecting this to go down to about 114, 113 and change. Just like the pound, we already broke this a couple of days ago, that 135 area, and we still have a target down here at 133 to 132 area, these extensions. And I suspect that once it finishes the move and we get the full cycles done, we're going to look to buy the dip. That's what we do. And I expect the dollar to continue higher. So the euro, dollar, and pound dollar are going to continue lower. But once this baby reverses, go down to 32, 33, that'll be my buy zone. And then when I see my PAI hook, I'm buying it, getting to a position of authority. The euro, when it gets down oversold territory, it's down here around this. It's already in ready to trade mode. Automatically buy the daily when it reverses, and it'll be somewhere down in this 114 probably area. And I'm going to look to buy that as well. Get to a position of authority. So with that, I'll say good luck. God bless you. May the pips be with you. I'm humbled and honored to be your mentor and instructor. But again, ES, buy the dip. We're going to 63.60. NASDAQ, buy the dip. We're going to 23.3 / 23.4 is the next upside target. So these dips should be bought as we continue through July to grind up to those targets. If not sooner than the end of the month, we should definitely be up here by the end of the month. And last but not least is IWM, expecting more downside on IWM as opposed to breaking out. The chart is totally different. Where they're breaking all-time highs, this guy is struggling in the resistance zone. We need a pullback. All right, so take care. God bless you. We love and appreciate you. That's it. That's all. We'll see you tomorrow.